Our first guest tonight is an Academy Award and Tony-nominated actor, writer, and director you know from films such as Training Day, Boyhood, and The Magnificent Seven. His graphic novel, Meadowlark, is available now. Please welcome back to the show our good friend, Ethan Hawke. Hello, Ethan. How are you?
Hey, Seth. How are you doing? Welcome to Budapest.
I mean, I miss you. I don't like when you're this far away on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Are you enjoying your time there so far?
I am, but I love New York, and I love my family, and I wish I was there.
You're there shooting Moon Knight with Oscar Isaacs for Disney+. And I will say, look, you're indie film royalty. You know that. You might not want to admit it. You've done some big films, too. But I got to imagine this is sort of unlike anything you've done before, being in the Marvel Universe.
Well, one of the first things that made it unlike anything I've ever done before is I had to sign like 10,000 NDAs about what I would and would not say, which I've never done, and I don't respect and I don't honor. So yeah. I'm happy to talk to you about it completely. No, yeah, I'll tell you this about it. I've been acting since I was 13. Like I did my first movie in 1985, okay? And that's a long time ago. And these are the best sets I've ever been on in my life. The costumes, the set, the production design, the cinematography, all those elements are kind of mind-boggling. So I have entered some alternate universe, and it is kind of interesting.
I will say it isn't. I mean, if there's an indie film character in the Marvel Universe, I feel like Moon Knight might be that character. So I do kind of feel like this is a nice fit.
Well, I heard about it from Oscar Isaac, who lives like, 3 blocks down the street from me in Brooklyn. And I was at a coffee shop and he came up to me. He's like, hey, I really like The Good Lord Bird. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I really like your work. You're amazing. He's like, hey, want to be in the Moon Knight with me? I was like, yeah. So it happened the right way,
Yeah. Born in Brooklyn, shoots in Budapest.
Yeah, we're conjuring ancient gods and we're fighting for good and evil, and it's very exciting.
I thought, by the way, I should note that with those glasses, your long hair, and those candles, you're giving off a real David Koresh vibe.
I've based my character on David Koresh.
Have you really?
Yeah, so, I guess it's working. I wanted a Camaro, I want to ride in a Camaro. And, yeah, I can't believe you. You're good, Seth. You're good.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm not out of character yet.
I should say I was a huge fan of Mr. Koresh.
No, I don't know if we want to be on record saying that. I will say that he's the basis of great character inspiration.
Yes.
However,
I think that that is a very fair thing. Hey, you talked about the fact. I want to ask because we've been talking about how some people now are starting to fake vaccine cards, right? That's a very real thing. You mentioned your first film when you were 15, and I know you didn't become world famous off your first film, but did Ethan Hawke ever have to have a fake ID?
Oh, definitely. Well, see, the good news for me was that my first movie that I did was a complete failure and nobody ever heard of it or knew who I was. So, I don't know where the fake ID, fake vaccine card is very interesting, but not only did I have a fake ID, I had a backup. Because I looked really young, I didn't have much facial hair or anything like that. And I went to 42nd Street and it said Ethan Hawke, and they said, where do you live? And I said, I had to make up a New York address. The only thing I could think of was Monopoly, So I said, Park Avenue. And I know Monopoly's not set in New York, but it's what I thought of. So I was Ethan Hawke who lived at 500 Park Place. And... and people bought it. When people want to make money off, kids buying beer, they'll generally, if you've got the fake ID, it's your fault, not theirs, right?
Right. If you put the work in, they're willing to just look the other way.
I also had the backup, which was a fake Rutgers University card, which I happened to really like the photo of myself in. I thought I looked really cool and tough. And it was largely there to impress girls.
But how quickly after Dead Poets could you walk into pretty much any bar?
Well, the trouble was that I was living in New York City after Dead Poets, right? Yeah. I moved there, and in New York City, one of the sad realities of it is those delis don't really card very much.
I see.
And I was pretty low rent date, Seth. I wasn't going to bars. I wasn't going to Studio 54 and stuff. I was, buying a 6-pack and taking it back and playing the guitar. That was more my thing.
Well, you have your Texas roots, and that is you kind of pulled on your Texas roots to write this fantastic graphic novel. And Greg Ruth, is it pronounced Ruth or Ruth?
Greg Ruth.
Ruth.
He's the genius behind the whole operation. I'm kind of the star of a graphic novel. I helped write it. He's the director. He's the costume designer. He's the hair and makeup artist. He's, it's his artistry that really makes it. And I'm so grateful to be on your show, even talking about it, Seth. I really appreciate it. I'm so proud of this book.
Well, we are big fans of graphic novels here, and you're not lying when you say you're the star, because you're kind of, he definitely drew it to be Ethan Hawke. Did he know your face enough, or did you have to do some modeling work for the book?
We're pretty good friends. We did another graphic novel called Inde first, and after Inde was over, we wanted to do something that was historical fiction. It was about the Apache Wars, the life of Geronimo, and that whole situation that happened down in the Northwest. The Southwest, sorry. And but so this was. It was born right after I'd finished shooting Magnificent Seven, and I had this big, long goatee in Mag 7. And when I chopped it off, I had a little kind of Fu Manchu mustache, so to speak. And I sent Greg some pictures. He's like, that's going to be that's your look for the graphic novel. And he just worked it.
It's a really great, a very exciting book. Takes place over one day, but it's really, at its core, a father-son story. Is this based on your relationships, Greg's relationships, both of your relationships?
Well, we each had sons that were turning 16 when we first started. And because we're friends, we talked about this strange thing that happens. You have a young person, a young boy, and he's growing up and he looks up to you so much and he thinks you're your dad, And then this weird thing called adolescence happens. And all of a sudden they stand up and they're as tall as you are, and they're looking at you in the eyes. And there's this profound feeling of disappointment coming from them, that they really wish, you mean this is who I got stuck with? You're my dad? Like, couldn't you? And they're there to call out everything fake you ever thought, any way that your behavior is hypocritical. And you have this sense of just being such a disappointment. You can't lead them any farther than you've gone in your own development. And to Greg and I, as we started talking about it, it felt kind of Greek to us. And we had this idea of, what if we wrote a book that was a father-son story, but at its secret subconscious was kind of a Greek myth. And we said we're both from Texas, so we're kind of hodgepodging our own childhood with our son's childhood and our experiences as a father, and trying to write great crime fiction, like to set a myth as if it was crime fiction, which is what I think, a lot of the best writing. Jim Thompson's one of my favorite crime writers. And so I had just read a Jim Thompson book, and I was like, what if we could channel our inner Jim Thompson and make a really original graphic novel? So that was the thesis behind it.